So joined now by Jay Aaron of the Golf Lovers United podcast, live on site at LIV Miami. Tournament just finished. Well, let's start with the reaction. Mark Leishman able to fend off a surging Sergio Garcia. Just your thoughts, seeing Leish being able to pull that one off.
Yeah, it was really impressive. Shout out to Leash. I think that he shot 68 today. It's quite as kept. Last year, he finished, fourth on this course. And I was actually just in the presser, and the Ripper team talked about how they actually had a training camp here at Trump Doral in January, which kind of gave them a huge advantage. So, it was good to see them win. One of the things that I talked a little bit to the guys about was, especially Mark, I felt like there were a lot of major champions and sort of guys playing in the Masters at the top of the leaderboard. He was one of the few that this was like his Masters. He isn't playing next week, and he really, really wanted to get a win. So, it was really great to see him get a win. He's one of the nicest guys on LIV, and the Ripper team, just as a whole, they have this really cool chemistry, and it's just they're really, really impressive. I think that training camp did them some real good in January, because they were talking about how tough the conditions were then. So it made sort of this weekend look like a cakewalk. So, yeah, shout out to them.
Well, let's go back to the start. When did you arrive in Miami? Just your initial thoughts and vibe of the energy of the crowd. I mean, was it
Oh my
more of
gosh.
a party, a Miami party crowd, or golf savvy? Where somewhere in between? Kind of where'd it lie?
It's a little bit of everything, honestly. So I got in on Wednesday, and there was a lot going on this whole week. Obviously, they filmed the Duels, which is their 2v2 matchup with content creators and the LIV captains, which was amazing. That came out earlier today. Still haven't seen it, so just because it's been such a whirlwind here. So yeah, I was here the whole week. It was really well attended. Saturday and Sunday were particularly well attended. The Trumps were obviously here. Donald Trump came in on Thursday, actually in the middle of filming of the Duels, shut down the course for a full hour. Um, so it's been an eventful week. I saw Eric Trump was here as well. Yasser was here. Yasser Al-Rumayyan, the governor of the Saudi PIF, who is the chairman of LIV Golf as well. He was here. He played in the Pro-Am. He's been here all weekend. Scott O'Neill, CEO of LIV. And then also just the crowd just had a different energy yesterday and today. For any, I was joking with a friend of mine because I used to live in Miami for 3 years, and I'm no longer a single man. And if I had a reminder why I no longer live here, because the women that were here, I've never been to a golf tournament that had as many good looking women as what attended here. So we had a concert last night. Sublime was here, which was really, really cool. And then today it was just a ton of people following the last few groups with Sergio and Rom and Bryson and Phil, all those guys win the last two groups. So yeah, it was really, really exciting tournament. Great energy, great crowds, probably twice the crowd that they had here last year. I think I heard the tickets were up like 90% year over year, which is pretty incredible. So yeah, I definitely think that they're probably going to wind up coming back here a few more times for sure.
No doubt. Well, you jumped a little bit ahead of me by mentioning President Trump being there, because I saw you and
So,
then Red Harrington and seeing
mhm.
some of the pictures you guys were posting. So just walk us through what I saw, the helicopter. What's the vibe like on the course when those helicopters roll in? And then does this whole sort of motorcade roll off that helicopter? Is that kind of or they kind of meet him there? Because I saw a bunch of
Yeah,
SUVs and all that.
yeah, it was crazy. It was so he came in. So they actually had a test run the previous day on Wednesday, and helicopters came in, and it was just like a really, really incredible scene. And I was kind of disappointed. I was like, oh, there's no President Trump today. So it was actually a trial run for the next day, and it was a scene. I mean, they shut down. We were actually on the last hole of the Duels, and they shut down the entire course for a full hour. They had to shut down the drones. They had to shut down like every part of the course. So we were in a holding pattern while the helicopters came in, and kind of his motorcade, which was actually more of like a golf cart motorcade, I think. We couldn't really get too close when he was coming off of the helicopter, but it was a really, really impressive, really, really just interesting experience that I'll never forget. Like it's not very often that the president visits in the middle of a golf tournament, and it's not very often that that president happens to be the owner of the facility where the golf tournament is. So yeah, it was definitely quite the scene, and yeah, it's definitely a scene that I'll never forget for sure.
You mentioned that, obviously people wondering why is President Trump there? Well, he owns the course trumped around. They also
Yeah.
called it the Blue Monster. I mean, what'd you make of the course itself? Because
Oh,
on TV, it looked like it was playing like a major championship course.
it really was. I mean, it was. I mean, scoring averages were major level. Yesterday, there was only one player that scored in the 60s. Lucas Herbert shot 69. The winning score was 6 under. And Mark Leishman had a bogey-free final round 68, which I mean, he was saying it felt like a 63 or 64 because that's how difficult the course was playing. It really was, a major test. It was a little bit compared to last year. It was way more difficult because there was a lot more wind. The last two holes, 17 and 18, were playing so much longer than they usually do. There were players on 18 that were hitting, hybrids and fairway woods into 18 when they had it all the way moved back. They actually, the last 2 days, they moved up the tee a couple tee boxes because it was still playing really long. There's a lot of water balls. I think Dean Burmester made a 9 on 18 today because he was right at the lead. And yeah, when you make a 9, you're going to fall back a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it was a huge challenge. They all talked about it. The greens got firmer and faster as the week went on. And yeah, it was a really, really difficult test. It's one of I think it's the hardest any live course is played from start to finish because of the conditions, because of the winds. There was basically no rain the whole time, so the course got really firmer and faster as the time went on, and yeah, it was super, super difficult.
For those that didn't get to watch, Mark Leishman won with a score of 6 under par. That was the best score all week. So impressive stuff.
Yeah.
So joined by Jay Aaron from the Golf Lovers United podcast. You know him on Twitter X as the pro golf critic. So Jay, I mean, getting back to Leishman, when you see the way he played on Sunday, bit of a surprise he hasn't had more success on LIV over the past couple of years because he certainly turned back the clock. That was a theme all weekend. He wasn't the only guy who did.
Yeah, he's 41 years old, so he's definitely not a spring chicken. He was the first one to sort of talk about that in the press conference. How he has to do a little bit more to get ready for his rounds. And the thing that I've talked to about a few different players that have gotten older, they still are capable of playing top golf. It just takes a little bit. It's harder to sort of maintain that throughout a season. So, and he was talking about how his last event in Singapore was he was so frustrated with the way he played. And he was kind of struggling a little bit, except sometimes when you come back to a venue that you're really comfortable at, like I said, he finished 4th last year. So he obviously knows how to play this course really well. Like I said, the Rippers had their training camp here in January. So like he has a certain comfort with this particular course. And also the grass here is actually very similar to a lot of the Australian courses that a lot of these guys grew up on. So yeah, really, really impressive. I mean, Ripper finished at +4. And the last place team was at +50, which is like the disparity of that is like absolutely mind boggling. So there was a lot of big numbers out there. I was out there in 17 watching John Rahm, who is a top 3 to 5 player in the world, make a 8 on 17 because he hit it in the water and put himself in a really bad spot. So yeah, there were landmines out there everywhere. So the fact that Leishman was able to shoot a 68, was bogey free today, he certainly deserved the win. So yeah, shout out to him again.
And then one guy, I mean, obviously ended up finishing third, but Sergio was pushing. He was trailing by
Mm,
one shot on 18. He needed a birdie to force a playoff, so he was really going at it. Ends up in the
yeah.
drink. But,
Hmm.
I mean, Sergio, I mean, I know you spoke to him after round two, and you asked him, was
Yep.
like, is this the best golf you've played in a long time? And just so for our audience that didn't hear it, what did Sergio tell you?
Yeah, so I asked him yesterday because I've been watching him play for 25 years. Ever since he was a teenager playing in the PJ Championship. We're of a similar age, so I followed his entire career, and like I couldn't really think of too many times where he's hit the ball this well. Like he is such an elite ball striker. The way he was able to play in the winds, like he just had a huge advantage over a lot of the other players because he's able to vary trajectories. Like he's able to hit these sort of fairway finders out there, find the fairway, and get a lot of run because he's able to hit it lower and sort of chase it out there. So he basically said he was being a little modest, I think, but he thinks that 2008 was probably the sort of top of when he played best, which makes a ton of sense. I mean, look, he won the Players Championship in 2008. He obviously won the Masters in 2017. I think he's playing better than he's playing now than when he won the Masters in 2017. Like, I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with at Augusta next week. I'm not a betting man, and I don't give out betting advice, but I mean, the way Sergio's hit the ball, I think you really have to take a look at him as a possibility. Like, I think it's no brainer he's going to have a good tournament. Winning, there's always a little bit of luck involved too, and there's a lot of other players that I think are primed and ready to go, and a lot of those players happen to be on LIV too. So yeah, it's going to be really really interesting. But Sergio's just I mean, he's such an elite player even now at 45 years old, and one of the reasons why I wanted to sort of bring up how well he's playing is because I know how bad he wants to compete on the Ryder Cup, this Ryder Cup team, the European Ryder Cup team later on this year. I think it would be crazy for Team Europe not to have Sergio Garcia on the team at this point as well as he's playing, and if he keeps it going through the rest of the year. So, and he's got a lot of confidence. I think he's going to have a great major season. This particular performance put him up at number 2 in the individual LIV standings, and considering the amount of talent at LIV, being number 2 in the standings, right behind Waco, is really really impressive. So, yeah, shout out to Sergio for the third place. I was actually talking to his wife Angela a little bit earlier because I was kind of keeping her up to date with because there's so much that sort of happens at the end of LIV events that I had my app open. I was watching a couple holes and I was kind of keeping her posted. So and I was rooting for Sergio because Sergio is one of my favorite players of all time. He really is. So good to see him playing well and sort of heading into next week.
Well, you mentioned not being a betting man. Neither am I, but I went into my account today and threw 15 bucks on Sergio to win next
Mm.
week at plus 7,000. So
Oh, okay.
15, that's what I'm like, hey man, you want to talk about odds? It's like, so 15 bucks pays over 1,000. That's not a bad little, you know what I mean? And so,
I
hey,
would pencil him in for top 10 or top 20 easily.
no
So.
doubt. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mhm.
speaking of that, you mentioned being in the media room, and then never mind being a member of the golf media. As a golf
Mhm.
fan, any kind of part of yourself kicking yourself, like, hey, I'm 3 feet away from Phil Mickelson and Sergio Garcia and Bryson. Any part of that fan come out of you?
Not really. I think that's one of the great things about being here at LIV. And I talked to a lot of the executives a lot about that. And they appreciate how professional I am, that, I've gotten a chance to talk to Phil and Sergio and sort of have, Sergio on our podcast. And I talked to Phil on a semi-regular basis. So these guys are really more, colleagues and sort of even friends at this point, and people that I've gotten to know really well over the last couple of years, and they appreciate a lot of the work that I do online. Particularly with unpacking these really complex things in the media and the golf media. Particularly when it comes to LIV and the PJ Tour and all that, and they appreciate all the flack that I take online for it too, which is something that helps me out too, just because it gives me a lot of confidence and sort of that I have these great, like all-time great players that have my back. So Yeah, I don't really get starstruck anymore. Like I never really did too, because I grew up with, I don't want to get into my whole backstory, but I spent a lot of time with people that are celebrities and stuff from the time that I was a kid. So I don't really get starstruck at all. So and I just really appreciate what these guys do in terms of supporting me, and it really means the world to me that they support me the way that they do. And just even recently, Phil came on Twitter and backed me up on sort of a controversial thing that was going on with the creators. So I appreciated him for doing that, and yeah, I appreciate all these guys here at LIV that have gotten to know pretty well too.
We're joined by Jay from the Golf Lovers United podcast. Of course, go check out that on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, I guess most major streaming platforms. And you can also find him on Twitter X at the Pro Golf Critic. And so you mentioned Mickelson there. I know you talked about Mickelson about his transformation into a YouTube golfer, courtesy of Grant Horvat. What do you think it is about this YouTube golf that Phil seems to be like rejuvenated and really enjoying himself?
I really do think that it has helped him. I really do. Like, just talking to Grant Horvat, who was out here. Obviously, he played in the duels, and he was following along a few of the groups. Like, Grant Horvat really is like a celebrity on his own. Like, he's really like he's part of a boy band. Like, there's so many young kids that like love Grant Horvat, and we're like here to see him. And like, I think that there's just a lot of Phil's having a lot of fun with these matches, with these 2v2s. You get to show his personality a lot, which is really what Phil's known for. And like, being able to broadcast that to the masses is like something that's like really cool to him. And the fact that he's partnering with someone like Grant Horvat, who is just like the nicest guy in the world. I want to call him a kid, but he's 26, 27 years old. But he's really one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And I think that's kind of rubbed off on Phil a lot, where like he brings a lot of joy to the game, and I think it's rubbed off on Phil. And like, I really do feel like he's been able to turn back the clock the last year. And he's obviously been playing really well on LIV this year. And I really do think in some weird way, this like collaboration with Grant Horvat and these other YouTubers is like really rejuvenating Phil, which is something he admitted, in the press conference yesterday. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for him. I think it's really, really cool. I love YouTube golf. I've been following it for, almost 10 years. I met Rick Shields here as well, who's obviously the biggest YouTuber out there, and he's got a huge partnership with LIV Golf. And yeah, like there's so many more possibilities. I think they're only scratching the surface with the duels that just came out earlier today. And yeah, I'm really excited about the future of YouTube golf. And I think Phil and Bryson are going to have, a lot to say about the future of it for sure.
Well, 12 LIV players will tee it up at Augusta next week for the Masters. Who's got the best shot of winning from that group of 12?
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about this earlier today. Even though he didn't really finish that strong, actually finished really strong because he birdied 18, which is like impossible. I think it's Bryson. I think it's Bryson DeChambeau. I feel like last year he was able to unlock something at Augusta. He hadn't really played all that well there. And for him to be the first round leader, and for him to be competing well into round 3, kind of made a couple crucial errors, but was still up there in the leaderboard even on Sunday. I think that he's figured something out at Augusta, and I think that I want to say Bryson is the one that sort of stands out to me, and he's probably the one that I'm rooting for the most, honestly. Like I think there's some others, but like, seeing Bryson in a green jacket to me is something that the world needs to see. I think it's something that would really, really be one of the best things for golf. And obviously, there's a lot of great players here. We have a lot of Masters champions at LIV, except having Bryson with a green jacket would just be incredible. Brooks after him, John Rahm after him, Joaquin Niemann after him. I think that those 4, and then obviously Phil is going to be up there too. Like, he's certainly going to make the cut. And I favor Phil to get in the top 10, top 20 for sure.
That's another bet I did. I put $15 on Phil in the top 10 as well, based on the way he's playing and stuff. So I was looking at those odds, and Bryson right now, the third best pick. Scotty's number 1. Rory number 2, and Bryson is number 3 as far as odds.
Hmm.
So the guys in
I
Las
like it.
Vegas kind of agree with you as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think Rory shouldn't be up there. I just think he has a mental block at Augusta National. I've gone on record to say this for a long time. I just don't think if Rory is going to win another major, I just don't see it at Augusta National. I just don't. So for a variety of reasons, and I don't think he's done the mental work necessary to really compete and win there. I mean, maybe he proves me wrong, but I don't see it happening at all. And then Scotty just hasn't really played all that well this year compared to last year. Like, I mean, he hasn't won it all this year going into Augusta, and yeah, I don't think Scotty's peaking at the right time either. Like, I think this hand injury that he had earlier in the year is still sort of impacting him maybe a little bit, even though we've seen him sort of climb up the play has been a little bit improving the last, little bit, but I still think that, yeah, I just think that the guys at LIV have an advantage. And I think, between Bryson and Rom and Brooks and Waco and Sergio and all these guys, Phil, I just think that they have the best chance. Cam Smith, haven't even talked about Cam Smith. Like, I mean, Cam Smith plays that course so well. Like, it wouldn't shock me at all if he was right there on Sunday. So a lot of great players. They only have 12 in the Masters. There should be a lot more. Mark Leishman's not there. Dean Burmester's not there. David Pouge, who I think is the top 30 player in the world, isn't there. Like, there's so many players on LIV that probably should be there if, the official world golf rankings were actually legitimate, which they obviously haven't been for the last couple of years, unfortunately. But I've got to roll with the 12 that we have, and I think we've got a great roster of 12 for sure.
We're joined by Jay Aaron from the Golf Lovers United podcast. Of course, check that out on Spotify and most streaming sites, and then check him out on Twitter at the Pro Golf Critic. So when you see the comparison from this week's leaderboard between LIV Miami and then the Valero Texas Open, aside from Brian Harmon at the top of that leaderboard, it's not even close. I mean, just look at the names, you read them aloud. Why do you think so many people are still reluctant to tune into LIV Golf for 10 minutes? And just like in other sports, this is like, hey, do you want to watch Duke versus Houston in the Final Four, or do you want to watch Cleveland State versus Wright State? I mean, that's literally what we're talking about here as far as comparison of talent level. In college basketball, you'd be an idiot for not wanting to watch Duke Houston. And so why is this, where's the reluctancy still coming from?
It's funny. I've actually talked to a lot of folks on the ground here, and funny thing is, I was actually talking to Clay Travis, who's obviously he
was there.
He was here. He was actually playing in the Pro-Am. I had a chance to talk to him for 20, 30 minutes about the corrupt golf media, which is like, I did not have that on my bingo card this year. Talking to Clay Travis and him agreeing with me 100% about it. So that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. But the golf media plays a huge role in this. They really do, and the golf establishment that's been very slow to accept LIV Golf for a variety of reasons. I think that those things are really important, and I think that a lot of traditional golf fans are very hesitant to sort of to be anti-establishment. Me personally, I think everybody that knows me is that I'm very anti-establishment when it comes to golf. However, one of the things that I've noticed about golf fans in general is that golf fans, we don't really change our habits that quickly and that easily. A lot of fans need to be influenced in the right direction. And I honestly think that these things that LIV are doing on YouTube, like the duels and having Grant and Phil do their matches, and how Bryson is just like the biggest YouTube star maybe out there now. And having him play with, President Trump and like all these other things, like that's actually bringing more people into the LIV universe. And I talked to a bunch of people here where this was the first golf tournament they've ever been to. And there was actually one guy that I talked to, this was the second tournament he's been to. He actually went to the Memorial a few years ago, and he was like, this is so much better. Like it's going to a LIV event is an experience that like you'll never forget. Like it's just such a cool vibe. The players are a lot more relaxed. You have much better access to the players. They're so happy to sign autographs for kids and like all that stuff that like the PGA Tour doesn't do. And like I said, I think golf fans in particular are just kind of creatures of habit. They're going to watch their golf on a Sunday afternoon on a particular network, and that's that. Except I think it's going to take longer for fans in the U.S. to sort of get on the LIV train, and I think as the barriers continue to sort of come down and be removed, and LIV is accepted a little bit more in the establishment, as we've seen with exemptions going out to LIV players for the majors here this season for the first time. I think those are the things that LIV is going to continue to build on, and we may have a situation where more players come over to LIV from the PGA Tour in the fairly near future. Little birdie has been telling me that might be a possibility, and which would always be really, really interesting. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get a deal between the PGA Tour and the Saudi PIF/LIV. So it looks like game on now with sort of these two rival factions continue to sort of to be competitors, and I think that is probably, crazy enough, the best thing for golf, because I think competition is going to elevate for LIV. It's going to elevate the PGA Tour a little bit. I just want them both to continue building and trying to grow golf, because that's really what I'm all about, growing global golf, because it's such a great game, and it's something that everybody deserves to have access to.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time. So Jay's live from LIV Miami, sitting in the press room right now, talking to me. Although we chatted a little bit off here before, he's got like a vest on. Apparently, it was chilly in Miami all this week. I was waiting to see tank top and flip flops and the whole. He's pretty bundled up.
Now, outside, it's hot and humid and all that. It's just that inside of the Trump Doral, they got the AC blasting. I was actually talking to some of the LIV executives, and in their little office, they literally had to order space heaters because it's so cold in there. So that's why I have the vest on here. But no, outside, it's actually been beautiful. 82, 83 degrees with a little breeze. It's actually been beautiful weather here this whole time. So.
Cool. And then finally, what can we expect on the Golf Lovers United podcast? I mean, you being on site, got to have some great content. What can we expect to see over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'm actually really excited. Again, I was talking to a couple of content creators here for the duels, and one of those creators is going to be coming on the podcast, Luke Kwan, who I've known for a long time, and he was on the podcast previously. We felt like it was time for him to come back on. I think he has a lot to say about some of the conflicts going on between the creators and the PGA Tour, and then potentially getting banned because they participated in this LIV event. There's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of things that I have been sort of sworn to not really talk about or tweet about. I've had to delete tweets at the behest of people that I know, that are close to me, that I respect, that I want to basically stay in their good graces. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes with these creators. The duels is something that's going to continue on, though. This is kind of a scoop for you. It looks like they're probably going to do it at every U.S. event the rest of the season. So it's going to be really, really cool. I'm really interested to see how this particular one does. And I know that they're going to continue to do tweaks moving into the future. And I'm really, really excited. I was so excited to be part of this one, even though I wasn't playing in it. Obviously, I was covering it, but we got a lot of stuff going on the podcast. We just did a interview with the CEO of Malbon Golf, Stephen Malbon, which was awesome. That was our last podcast. And we're going to do stuff around the majors, and then also the next LIV event is coming up here in Mexico City in 3 weeks. The Masters is up next. It's on everybody's mind. And I'm really, really excited about next week.
Awesome. I can't thank you enough for doing this. I know. Hey, now go enjoy the rest of Miami. Appreciate your time today.
You got it. Thanks as always, Chris. I appreciate it.